Mini skirt on, dip my body in glitter. Platform sneakers, all the boys want a picture. Two foreign cars, I make rich look richer. Save your breath, baby, I'm not going home with ya. Mini skirt on, dip my body
Hello. You are now tuned in to the A Little Bit of Light podcast. I'm your host, Kristen, and we are back with another episode. OMG, how is it already August? Like, this year is literally flying by, guys. Like, for real. I'm gagged. I'm googed and gagged at how fast time flies when you're an adult. Like, seriously, I'm gonna need time to slow down. I wish I had a time machine. Where's the money long? Like, what? This week, we got a couple of things on the docket to talk about. It was a couple of things that I wanted to talk about last week. I've also got a topic that you guys wanted me, quite a few people reached out to me on my Instagram at A Little Bit of Law podcast and wanted me to talk about when it came to my living situation, because I've been posting on my stories some of the trials and tribulations that I faced with this apartment that I'm living in right now, guys. Like, oh my God. And a couple people were like, we want you to talk about it. So we're going to talk about that. There's a couple little things going on with the Love Island drama that's been happening this week. We got to talk about that. And more importantly, there is a big social issue going on right now with the police killings that are continuing to happen with Black women and Black men being targeted in this nation. Like, it's out of control. So we're going to talk about that. It's going to get a little heavy because this situation has been really heavy on my heart for the past couple of weeks. I've been watching the news coverage and different things that have been happening. More and more information being released about Sonya Massey being killed. It's a lot. Okay, so we're gonna get into all of that, but first, I did mention in my last episode that my podcast anniversary is coming up on August 19th. So until that day, I'm taking submissions by this Google form that I have in the description. If you're watching on YouTube, or it's going to be in the description on Spotify and Apple, you click that link in my description and you can leave feedback to let me know what your favorite episode has been this past year. Do you have a favorite topic? Do you have a favorite guest? You know, anything that you've liked about the podcast this past year, or if you just have like a general like nice message that you want to share, you can leave all of that by clicking that link in the description, and I'll be sure to read them on my podcast anniversary episode. So just wanted to remind you guys that is there, and I'll leave the submissions open, I think, until August 19th. And then I think I'm going to close it like a couple days before that. Either way, like, you have a couple weeks to do it. And then, of course, before we get into the episode, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you give this video a like, comment to let me know what are you thinking about the topics that I'm going to be covering this week, and subscribe. Somehow, I'm already at 400 subscribers, guys. What the actual? Like, you have been crushing it. Thank you so much. Like, 400 members of the Kristen gang is crazy, brother. So I really appreciate you guys. So if you aren't already subscribed, then you're the 90%. Actually, it's 96%. When I look at my YouTube stats, it says that 96% of the people that watch my videos are subscribed. And I always say this, I understand it's a little bit scary to commit to a new content creator and click that subscribe button, but I swear you'll love it here. We have fun over here. We talk about mental health, pop culture, all of the things. You're gonna have a blast. So click that button. Don't be afraid. Turn those post notifications on. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple, rate that 5 stars. Leave a review to let me know what you think about the show. So with this Sonya Massey situation that's been going on, like, oh my God, man, like, it has just been so rough. Yet again, another Black woman there was no threat to the police in any way, shape, or form. She had no threat to them, has been slain in her own cribbo. And it's just so triggering a lot of the times to continuously keep seeing these events happen again and again and again. And I feel like, especially as a Black woman myself, it is really, really scary to think that if something were going on in my own home and I had an issue in my apartment and I called the police, that could have been me. Like, I can't help but feel that empathy and put myself in her shoes, because I feel like at the end of the day, like, it could be any one of us. And that is really, really scary. The possibility of that is 100% real. And it's just not right. It's not right. These situations are just extremely triggering for me, because you guys know that I always say, like, with me being like this dreamy Pisces, I feel like I thrive in a state of delusion, and I kind of live in my own like world. So whenever you have to like tap back into reality and you realize that there's some really, really scary and like effed up things going on with the police, treating Black people the way that they've been treating them for generations, it's really, really hard for me to deal with. So, but when it comes to these situations, at the end of the day, as much as you want to just be like, I don't want to think about it, you have to, because it affects me, it affects, my future children and generations to come, because this is a ongoing issue. And I don't see it getting better anytime soon, even though I hope that it would. But they continue to prove in time and time again that they don't really actually care about us. They only care about their safety, and they only care about their excuses that they make up for themselves. And, when you think about like the history of what the police department stands for, I believe I looked it up, and it's like the police was not even meant to protect Black people from the beginning of its creation to begin with. So, that's really upsetting. And I understand that I want to give a disclaimer, like, not all police are bad, but this is just so loud and glaring. And the majority of them have shown us that they don't care to actually protect and serve, a big part of America's nation. And that is just so ridiculous in my opinion. So if you haven't heard the news, there was a shooting that occurred on July 6th. There was a woman named Sonya Massey. She called 911 to report a suspected intruder in her home. So she thought that someone was in her house, and two deputies arrived. One of them was named Sean Grayson. And when they first came in, you see on the footage that she was a little bit concerned. She was like, hello, like, please don't hurt me. And they came in her house and they asked for her for identification. And so once they were in, she was like trying to search for her identification. But then that's when Grayson noticed that there was a pot of boiling water on the stove. So he made her stop what she was doing with searching for her identification and wanted her to go handle the pot of boiling water. So that's what's really upsetting about this situation, because that ends up being the place where she dies, by her stove, when he's the one that told her to go over there. And after she picked up the pot, then Sonya asked the officers, who visibly distanced themselves from her, like, why are they moving away? Because as she's picking up the pot, like, they're slowly backing up. And then that's when Grayson was like, well, we're moving away from your hot steaming water. And so then Sonya was like, oh, away from the hot steaming water? Oh, I'll rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Then Grayson responds, oh, you better effing not. I swear to God, I'll effing shoot you in your effing face. And then he removes his firearm. He closes the distance between them. Sonya begins to kneel behind the counter, and she could be heard saying, I'm sorry. As Grayson continues to advance, she says, I'm sorry again. And then he shoots 3 times, striking her with a bullet below her eye that exited from the back of her neck, and she was killed. So, of course, after that, Grayson was arrested. He was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, and he's being held without bond until his trial is set to begin. And unfortunately, Sonya leaves behind 2 teenage children, a son and a daughter, and her daughter confirmed that she was paranoid schizophrenic. So because of that, I'm not 100% sure if there was even anyone in her house. But at the end of the day, regardless of her mental status, if she felt like she was in danger, she felt like she was in danger. And there are just so many different things that are going on that are wrong, I feel like, in this case, because it's like, how does a grown man who is like fully capable of going through police training and can handle so many different things that are thrown at him feel so intimidated by a pot of boiling water, like, is beyond me. Like, seriously. And then it's like, especially with the distance that was between them, even if she were to like feel some type of way and want to throw it on them, I don't really think that the pot of boiling water would have even touched him from where he was at. So that's really frustrating. And it's like, even with her saying, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, what about that makes you so mad? Bringing up Jesus to him being like, you better not, I'll shoot you in the effing face right now. And it's like, why is that the first thing you say? I'll shoot you in the face? And then, of course, after the shooting is done, she's sitting there, I believe, allegedly still alive. And his buddy is like, should we go get a kit? And he says, don't bother. You know what? It's like, that really, really upset me about it all, because like, I recently watched that Netflix documentary. What is it called? What Jennifer Did, or something like that, where this one girl had a bunch of guys come in and attempts to murder her father, but they also like killed her mom and shot the dad. So the mom ended up dying, and she thought the dad was going to die, but he actually lived because he had the same thing. He got a gunshot wound, I believe, by his eye. These type of gunshot wounds in this situation, in that situation, in the Netflix documentary, was survivable. He was able to survive it because he went and got the help that he needed, because right after she like did her little fake call to 911, and my boy was like in a coma for a little bit, and he woke up and was able to spill the tea on what happened to him and get a protective order against his daughter for trying to murder him. So it's like, it just really, really sucks, because if he were to feel like the kit was worth using on Sonya, who would have known, like, if she, who knows if she would have been able to survive that. She could have been saved. But you felt like not only was she not worth life and living by shooting her in the first place, but then you say you're not even like gonna bother using your kit on her. And then it was just such an eerie feeling, because when you watch the footage back, a lot of the different officers show up and they're all kind of just quiet and kind of looking like, dang, like, okay, you shot her? Like, and it kind of almost just felt like their energy was like, well, glad it wasn't me type of energy. And when he goes outside, he calls her a effing bee, and he says that she's crazy, and he immediately just like lies and says that like she was the one that was trying to attack him. And it's like, no, clearly on the footage, like, she wasn't even over by the stove to begin with. You sent her over there to turn it off and remove it. And then it's just so upsetting, because it's like, she apologized twice and you still chose to shoot at her anyway. And then you watch like the footage of her mother and her son doing press, and they talk about like what a lovely woman she was. So rest in peace to Sonya. Like, you should still be here. Like, you deserved a chance to live. There was no reason in any way, shape, or form that she should have been perceived as a threat. And I think that once like the officer showed up and asked her before he even stepped in the house if her mental health was okay, you should have taken it seriously to that point to be like, maybe she needs like a psychiatric evaluation or something like that, because if you feel like she's mentally not all there, then maybe that should have been handled first. But then she ends up being unalived. Like, it's just so exhausting. There's so many things that you could say, but there's so many things that have already been said about the social injustices that are going on in this country when it comes to this police department. It's raggedy, it's ghetto, it's unfair, it's unjust, it's sick, it's twisted, it's demented. Every other adjective for wrong that I could think of belongs to this situation. I hope that he rots and he pays for what he's done. But at the end of the day, I know that her family feels like no matter what they do with him, it will never be enough, because she's gone and you can't take that back. So I'm so, so sorry. My heart goes out to her family and her friends. Like, I just would hate if this were happening to me, or if this were my sister, or this were my mom. Like, it could be any one of us. And it's so disheartening. So yeah, on to, a lighter subject. We don't want to keep it, gloomy the whole time, but I felt like it was important to cover this topic because I know that at the end of the day, it needs to be talked about. You need to hashtag say her name every single time and opportunity that you have. So we're gonna ride behind Sonya until justice is freaking served, and that's on period. So on to a lighter situation. We've got the Love Island. I said that I was gonna continue to cover, and guys, it's just like you would think that after they got out of the villa that would just be it until the reunion, but there is just so much stuff that is going on to continuously report. Okay, even since I made this episode outline and wrote down my notes, there's been more stuff that has happened. Allegedly, Kendall was out clubbing and there were some black girls that were trying to get in his section and he told them no. Don't know how true that is, but I think I saw Janae talk about it in the comments on TikTok and said she was going to talk to Kenny about it. Wait, what did I say? I don't know if I said Kenny, but I meant to say Kendall. I think I said Kendall. Kendall is the problem here. Kendall didn't allegedly want black girls in his section. At the end of the day, is this surprising? No. With the way that I said last episode that he was treating Serena. But at the end of the day, it's disappointing. Yes. So Kendall, get the frack. Okay, we don't need you to be on this type of time, brother. Kicking black girls out of your section, allegedly, that's gross. So that's concerning. Also, there was some tea going on with Kenny where he was saying that Josiah, I don't know if you guys saw, Josiah was one of the boys that was trying to get with Janae during Casa. Allegedly, Josiah ripped up one of Kenny's shirts that he left for Janae during Casa. And it's like, what in the mental? Like, I don't understand. Like, how demented do you have to be? How sick do you have to be to do something so weird like that? But at the end of the day, it kind of checks out if this really is true for Josiah, because it was like he was a walking red flag from the second that he entered the villa for Casa. I think he was the one that shared that story about how he was dating two girls at once and they knew about it and he felt bad about it, but he's like, that's not me anymore. Why on earth would he lead his introduction into Casa with that story? I'll never know. I was like, I don't even know. If I were him, you would never even be able to beat that information out of me on national television. And on top of that, you're trying to get with a girl and you tell her this story. Maybe he felt like it was going to win him brownie points for being truthful, but all it did was like turn Janae away. So for you to turn around and allegedly rip up one of Kenny's shirts, it's like, why? That's just so weird. It's just weirdo behavior. And then we have an issue with Aaron being a little booger because he did an interview and he got to trying to, compare Serena and Kayla. And it's like, what we're not going to do is come at Serena. Like, I already admitted that in the beginning, I wasn't really feeling Serena because of how she was kind of like slow burning with Cordell. And once they played that twist game and she chose not to like stay with him, I was like, what is that about? But we all know that she's gone on record and said that it was really just out of fear. She was really scared to like open her heart and let him in. And now we're past it. So at the end of the day, like, no Serena slander is going to be tolerated. I have no problem with admitting growth and giving her a chance to grow as well, like pro growth. But what we're not gonna do is come at Serena Art, okay, Aaron? So he gets on a podcast and he's like, I know Serena is there, throwing plates up in the air and having a screaming match. What? So then that's when Cordell saw this clip and he commented on it, I think on TikTok or Instagram or something like that. And he was like, she was just expressing emotions. Wasn't no screaming match involved. Like, you my dog, but get it right. Like, exactly. Wasn't no screaming match. And I just love, once again, how Cordell is constantly validating her feelings every single time they talk about her screaming and shouting and stuff when she was upset after he did what he did in Casa. Like every single point since they've left the villa, he has gone on record to say, no, she was just expressing her emotions. I wanted her to get out what she was feeling. Like those were just feelings. It didn't faze me. There's nothing wrong with that. Like that's just how she chose to express her feelings, and she was hurt. And there's that's understandable. But it's like everybody else in the villa was just like acting like she was doing the most. But the only person that really understood was Cordell. And I just feel like it's just so messed up how every time black women like get upset, then it's looked at as doing the most. Yet I feel like weren't Serena and Kayla's reactions like basically the same? You know what I mean? Like they both went through the same thing with the boys that they were coupled up with, making them look crazy in Casa. But I feel like the only difference is how Aaron handled it versus Cordell. Aaron was constantly getting upset with Kayla about feeling her feelings, but once again, Cordell was nothing but understanding, apologetic, and sincere. So it's like it's just such a chop with Aaron. It's such a chop. Like for you to even think that was okay to say that she was throwing plates up in the air and having a screaming match is ridiculous. But then again, once again, not surprising. Not freaking surprising. Because of course Aaron's gonna judge Serena's actions when he couldn't even take Kayla's, let alone dealing with a real one. And it's like I said while we were watching the season and while they were going through what they were going through, I told my boyfriend, I'm like, this is black people business. Like what's going on between Serena and Cordell is black people business. Like we handle situations and arguments and like different things like so differently. So it just made sense why everybody in the villa like didn't really understand. You have people like Kendall, or Miguel, I think even being like, that's the type of girl you want to bring home and and it's like y'all just don't understand. Y'all, none of you guys understand because this is some real black people business going on. So remove yourself from the situation. You have no right to comment on what's going on because this is between two black people, Serena and Cordell. And we need to leave it at that. So when people like Aaron get to trying to dip their toes into black people business, it's a chop, okay? But yeah, so once again, I just feel like we're going to have so many more things to talk about when it comes to this reunion because it's like every other second there's more and more stuff happening and more stuff going on. Like how is Josiah? I feel like he's gonna get on the reunion, and if they talk about him ripping up the shirt, he's probably gonna deny it. Like, ugh, gosh. And then transitioning into the last topic that you guys were asking me to cover when it comes to my apartment. Guys, I've been going through the gags. I've said it before. I've lived in this apartment for 3 years. This is my very first apartment. I did, was a little bit of a late bloomer when it comes to moving out. I didn't move out until after I already graduated college and had my full time. I can't even find the words. I had a full-time job with a full retirement plan, everything like that. I wanted to make sure that I was fully settled and fully, ready to be able to handle the financial responsibility of living in an apartment and having my own place for the first time. I'm kind of glad that I did do that because since my boyfriend and I have been together for so long, there were so many times where we wanted to move when we were like still working in fast food before we were even done with school. And, we could have moved out when we were 19, 20, but I just can only imagine like what that would have ended up looking like. Like, I just felt like I didn't want to move and then end up like not being able to actually handle the responsibility of it and then end up having to move back home. I felt like if I wait, really save up my money, really get right with my job, and make sure that I'm really ready, I wanted to decrease the odds of me ever having to move back. You know what I'm saying? Like, no shade, no tea to my mom, love you down. But at the end of the day, like, everybody knows, like, when you move out for the first time, like, you kind of want to just stay out. So that was my situation. So once we, moved, I took it very seriously on choosing the place that I thought was right for us. My boyfriend and I both looked at different places and we found a great apartment, or so we thought. Like, the property out here looks lovely. It looks nice. I've got 1,000 square feet. I've got central air. I've got washer and dryer. But as we've lived here, every single year, it just seems to get worse and worse. And I think the issue is that the property manager here, like, kind of is just in over her head. And because there's so many different units in this apartment complex, it's so big, she can't manage it the way that she should be able to. And especially with like all of the issues where, like, even though this place is nice, they have a lot of like cheap amenities. The washer and dryer sucks. All of the other things that they've kind of put in here, they appear to be nice, but in reality they're actually kind of cheap, so they're always breaking. And then when you have all of these constant issues going on, you need maintenance more and more and more, but they only have like a couple of maintenance guys. So I think that's the issue. Like, there's so many issues, but only so little maintenance people. And then the property manager here just sucks. So it's like, it's a job. But a lot of the issues that I've been dealing with are just like, I would say they're kind of minor, but because there's so many going on, it's just become a major issue to the point where I feel like I want to move out. So, like, for example, I wrote down a couple of things, like the doors. The doors are always like going off of the tracks. Dryer, like I said, is crappy. It's always breaking. I remember one summer I had to have them come out here 4 times. I think the summer before last, to fix the dryer because it always ends up making this like super loud noise and it's freaking annoying. The window is always leaking in my office whenever it rains really hard. The toilet is always leaking. But then I also had issues with like the flushing of the toilet. They had to like replace like the little pump thing for it to flush. That was freaking annoying. My dishwasher is always clogging. And on top of that, it's never been mounted. My dishwasher is not mounted. So like anytime that I have to like put my dishes in my dishwasher and I have like the 2 drawers that are in there, I can only pull one drawer out at a time, because if I pull both of the drawers out in my dishwasher, the dishwasher will like tilt over and try to fall out. And a lot of these issues are issues that, especially with the dishwasher, that I put on my moving in checklist. Because a lot of times, if you don't know, when you move into a new apartment, they're going to give you like a checklist, and then you survey the area and write down different things that are wrong, and then they're supposed to fix it like when you first move in. 3 years later, the dishwasher is still not mounted. Same thing with the curtains in my living room. I asked for new curtains when I first moved in. The curtains have not been replaced. There's different gaps in them, a couple cracks in the curtains. Like, it looks crazy. And like when you're sitting on the couch, like the cracks in the curtains are like so bad that you can like fully see outside at all times in some of the different cracks, even if the blinds are closed like all the way. The shower drain is always clogging. I can't count how many times they've had to come out here for that. Let's see what else, guys. Front door. The front door has like a slight little crack in it at the top. So sometimes flies get in here, or gnats, because I have like flowers, I think from the previous tenant, that were planted in front of my front door. So there's always different like flies and like bees that are by the front door. Then on top of that, the lock itself, like the front door lock, fully broke once. So I wasn't able to like lock my front door for several hours until the emergency maintenance guy showed up. The power always goes out here, like every time the weather is bad. anytime I feel like it, even just like the wind blows too hard, it seems like the power is going out. Same thing with like my internet. I don't know if that has anything to do with this area, but it's like I have the same internet that my mom has at her apartment. And in the 10 years that we lived there, we never had that issue with the internet being as sucky as it is. Love it. Yay. So yeah, power is like stays going out. I remember the first summer that we lived here, the power was out for like 3 days. And it was so hot and so humid. And I was literally like crying because I hate going to sleep and being hot. So I ended up like going over to my mom's house for a couple of days and just working from home over there so I could have air. And my boyfriend was like, well, I don't want to go back home, so I'm gonna just thug it out and like sleep here. But I'm like, I can't do it, babe. And then just last Wednesday I was cooking dinner and I went to go like fill up my Stanley so I could have something to drink, and I turned the faucet on to fill up my water, and then I turned the faucet off and the handle of the faucet broke off. So, and it was like at full like max power. So the water was coming out at full force and the handle was off. So I couldn't figure out how to turn the water off. So I'm like, oh my God, help. So my boyfriend comes in there and he's like, what the heck? And I'm like, the handle for the sink, the kitchen sink is gone. Like it fell off. So we're trying to like reattach the handle so we can turn the water off, but it's not turning off. And because it's like on full power, like as it's hitting the bottom of the sink, the water is kind of like spraying a little bit. So now there's like water spraying on the counter. There's water spraying, splashing off of the sink onto the ground. So now the ground is wet. I had to get some towels, put some towels down. Girl, like it was so ghetto, so annoying. And in the end, we were not able to turn the water off. Like full speed, like full power, water is stuck on. Like it was literally such a mess. And then like we try to like get down and go under the sink, and like I'm looking up on YouTube like how to turn the water off, because a lot of times like people change their faucets so they need to turn the water off. I'm trying to twist the thing. It's telling me to twist. I'm twisting it. Nothing's happening. Like, guys, to this day, I can't figure out like how they turn the water off under there, because I didn't see a button. I didn't see a switch. And then there was like 2 knobs in there to twist, but I'm twisting it. The water is not turning off. So then at that point, it's like 6 or 7 p.m. We have to call the emergency maintenance phone number because the office is closed, obviously. So we call emergency maintenance. The lady says, okay, I'll forward your message. And then we wait. And I'm like, okay, well, like I just finished dinner. I'm hungry. So like, let's just go eat. So we go, we eat, and the water is still stuck on full force for like basically an hour. Water kind of splashing everywhere, like I said, on the counters, onto the floor. And there's nothing we can do because we can't figure out how to turn the water off. So that was fun. Yeah, like that was literally a blast. Can you imagine? Finally, the maintenance man shows up and he's able to turn the water off with the little nub that is left on the faucet, and he's not able to like reattach the handle. But he's like, in the meantime, if you do need to turn the water on, you just press this little nub and push it back and push it forward, and you can turn the water on and off. And I'm like, okay, it'd be great if you could just put the handle back on. But he said he couldn't because he didn't have access to his garage because of the time. Like, it was late. So I'm like, okay. And he said he'll be back first thing in the morning. This was last Wednesday. So as of today that I'm recording this, for days and days and days, like the kitchen sink has been out of service. So yeah, like those are just like a couple of things that are, inconveniences with living here. Not to mention like break-ins. This is supposed to be a gated community, but for some reason they never have the gate closed. You're supposed to have a code to get in here. If you're a guest, you're supposed to press a code that's assigned to each person. It's supposed to call my phone, and then I press a number to like let them in, but the gate is always open. And then if you live here, you're supposed to have like a key fob, and you just press the fob. So they have like a residence drive-in and then like a guest drive-in. two different gates for the residents to go in and for the guests to go in. But for some reason, the gates are always open. So anytime I have to do, DoorDash or delivery, there's no need for me to let them in because they can just drive on in and give me my stuff because the gate is always open. And then when the gate is closed, people are always breaking it. So for some reason, people try to just like hurry up and like, one thing they're good at is like, let's say like a resident uses their fob to get in, they open the gate, they drive, then somebody will be behind them that doesn't live here and will try to hurry up and speed behind that person to get in, but then the gate closes on top of their car and then it breaks off. So they're always having to like buy a new piece of wood to replace the gate. Like, so I guess they just got to the point where they were like, we're tired of fixing the gate, so we'll just keep it open. They also have a camera by the gate. And I remember one time they took a picture and sent it to us in a letter. And we're like, does anyone know this guy? And it was a picture of this boy who was messing with the gate and messing with the camera. And it's like, okay, that makes me feel safe. There was also another instance where there was this guy who was caught on somebody's Ring camera on their back patio, because everybody has a patio. And he was walking at night and went to somebody's patio and stole one of their patio chairs. And I'm like, that's creepy. And then they said again, like, does anyone know this person? If you know anything, like, call the office or call the police. And it's like, okay, great. So now people are messing with the cameras at the front gate. They're constantly breaking the gate doors. There's men walking around stealing patio chairs. And then they were like, so if you know anything, call somebody. In the meantime, here's some things you can do. Number 1, close your blinds. Keep your blinds closed. When I told my dad about that, he just laughed because he was like, what the heck? That's your advice? That's your advice to me? To keep my blinds closed? Because it's kind of like, well, if you don't see him, he was never there, I guess. Like, what do you mean? Like, that is just so not it. So for like a couple of weeks, like, I had my blinds closed because I was scared. I'm like, what if I get got next? Like, what if I at any time open my blinds and that man could be standing outside of my patio? Not to mention, there's been a couple of Ring cameras that have caught different people breaking into cars. People out here, they smoke their blunts and then they leave their blunt guts on the floor. If anybody who like out there smokes and they have like, they use Rellos, you open the Rello, you dump the tobacco that's inside and you put your herbs in there and roll it up and smoke it. But for some reason, the boys out here, they like to just dump the guts on the ground. So for some reason, the boys out here, when they have McDonald's, they like to just throw their McDonald's out the window. And then I walk to my car to go to the store and there's a random McDonald's bag by my car. Do you think I'm picking that up? No. Like, it's so many different issues, so many different problems that I have with this place. And it's just so ghetto. Like, I pay too much to live in a gated community that's supposed to be safe and nice and on the higher end of living. They call this a luxury apartment. So I thought, okay, I'm bossed up. I'm getting my first apartment and it's a luxury apartment. Like, this place is nice. Like, you're thinking it's quality 5-star, 5 little mama, you a 3-star. Word to Nikki, and it's not 5-star. It's literally giving 3-star. It's giving 2 stars. It's actually giving negative motherfucking stars. Honestly, 0 out of 10, negative motherfucking 1,000 out of 10 would not recommend. I wish I could expose this place so bad, but like, I still live here and I don't need to be doxxed. But anyways, so for those who wanted, a little bit more of a story as to what's been going on with my hellish nightmare of apartment living, there's that. My lease is up in February of 2025. I want to break the lease so bad, but at the end of the day, it's like, who wants to give these people 2 months rent plus damages, quote unquote? Because I know they're going to try to charge me for all the stuff that they haven't fixed. That it's not my fault that it broke. You should have never had a cheap sink, a kitchen sink faucet. But if I feel like if I move out now, they're going to try to charge me and consider that damages, the door hinges and the leaks. And I don't know. I'm just paranoid. I'm scared. I ain't trying to get charged with Nan. On top of that, who has time to pay all of that money to break the lease? So now I'm kind of like in a pickle where I feel like now until February I should probably keep it cute with my money and save so I can try to get the frick out of here. And in the meantime, for the next couple of months, I'm going to work on downsizing as well, because I honestly feel like when I moved in here, I still brought too much stuff from my mom's house to this house, and half the stuff that's here, I'm like, why did I bring this here? Like, I could have either kept it in storage at her house or either threw some of the stuff away. So that's going to be my thing for the next couple months. I'm planning on, deep cleaning my apartment, downsizing a lot of stuff. So that way when I move into my new place, hopefully I have less things to bring, I'm saying less clutter. And for the time being, I feel like, unfortunately, I'm just going to thug it out until February. So that's that. My dad has complained and called the office multiple times and told them, why the frick aren't you fixing all of these issues that my daughter has? They say they're going to fix it. They don't. They say they're going to show. They don't. And then when they do, it breaks again. So, you live and you learn. So if anybody else is, going through this, just know that you shouldn't be too hard on yourself, because for a while I felt stupid. I'm like, well, like, this is on us. We chose this place and we thought it was nice, but we made the wrong decision. But it's like, you don't know until you move in, like, it appeared to be like the best of the best in the area, and it's not. And there's so many different people that, like, my mom works with that have recently talked about how much they don't like the way that the property is managed, and they've had issues with leaks in their apartments and different things like that. So it's like, it is what it is. I'm not going to be too hard on myself. At the end of the day, this served its purpose as a starter apartment. Now we're just going to move on to bigger and better. So this week I'm planning on doing a tour. I have scheduled for another apartment that I like, and this time my mom is going with me, because I think if my mom would have came with me on the tour for this apartment, we would have never moved here in the first place, babes. But it is what it is. So I was like, Mom, you got to be in it to win it, because I'm not trying to do this all over again. I'm not trying to have a part 2. I want to make sure that the next place I move into is solid. And at the end of the day, like, there's only so much I can control. I very well could move into somewhere else and it, like, be another crap show again, but I hope not. God forbid. So that's the plan. We got a couple places that we're going to tour, and we're hopefully going to get the frick out of here. And when the time comes, and maybe I'll do a little vlog, show you guys, the moving process and stuff like that. So I don't know, like, let me know in the comments if you would, like, look forward to that. That's it for this week. Love Island, my apartment crap going on. The police are going crazy. It's so sad, but it's life. So yeah, like I said at the beginning of the episode, if you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. It's crazy to say that I'm now on my road to my first 500 subscribers. What the heck? And if you're listening on Spotify and Apple, rate that 5 stars, leave that review to let me know what you think about the show. And with that, I'll see you guys next week. Oh yeah, and make sure you guys don't forget to click that link in the description to give me your feedback about the 1-year anniversary that's coming up, the episode, because it's gonna be lit. And like I said, I'll make sure that I read all of those comments on the episode, so I'm looking forward to it. But all right, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Phone calls, I make rich look richer. Save your breath, baby, I'm not going home with y'all.